What's up, guys? We're looking at a pretty fantastic day for the market, a sea of green, another good day for Bitcoin. Something interesting yesterday happened. Bitcoin again decoupled from the stock market. Yesterday was a somewhat bad day for risk on, but not for Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to go over Bitcoin on the chart, and we're going to talk about some important upcoming economic data points to watch out for. And one thing I wanted to show you that I didn't mention was the spot Bitcoin ETF flows. The spot Bitcoin ETFs saw the largest flows since January. And yesterday, on Monday, we saw $381 million in net inflows. One of the better days for the spot Bitcoin ETFs this year. And on Monday, we saw the entire crypto market enjoy an $800 billion increase in market cap, reaching $2.84 trillion. Where stocks were concerned on Monday, it was not as peachy. Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P, all red. And this is a perfect segue into this. Bitcoin has been decoupling from the stock market. Trump said some not very kind words to Jerome Powell. This article is suspecting this could be one possible reason. We had a bit of a sell-off yesterday, a bit of fear. Trump called Powell Mr. Too Late, saying that it's now the time to start lowering rates. Powell has always been too late. The dollar has been doing pretty horrible lately. Investors are turning to gold and Bitcoin. Gold has been hitting all-time highs pretty consistently in recent weeks. Further weakening of trust in government institutions creates a bid for alternative stores of value like Bitcoin and gold. Now, should Fed Powell start lowering rates? Listen to Trump? Let's take a look at some recent inflation data points. And as a side note, PCE comes out on April 30, about a week from now. It has been pretty much hovering in the 2.5% range. How about CPI? Our last CPI was somewhat positive. We saw 2.4%. The expectation was a 2.5. And our inflation read before that was a 2.8. So we are seeing some progress in the right direction, as you can tell. How about PPI? Well, this actually has been kind of rising in recent months. We have seen it drop, but still elevated, still in the upper twos. The forecast was a 3.3, we had a 2.7. That's definitely a positive. However, none of these are at the percentage that Powell wants. The Fed has a goal for inflation to reach 2% before cutting. One thing that's been mentioned as well is what are the effects of tariffs? Whether you like or dislike Trump, these tariffs may affect inflation somewhat. No one knows to what extent. Would it be smart to start cutting rates ahead of this? And I understand the president wants lower rates. Every president does. But at the same time, it is a balancing act, as we have heard from the Fed so many times. If you start lowering those rates too soon, what if inflation starts going out of control? Things to ponder. I want to remind you that the Atlanta Fed, their updated GDP now is going to be on Thursday, April 24. The latest estimate was revised to a negative 2.2. We hit almost negative 4%. It has been rising since. Hopefully our next update brings it into the 1% range, but this isn't what we want to see. Still a very negative expectation for GDP. And as I said in a recent video, the blue chip consensus has also been turning down too. There's the range of the top and bottom 10 average forecasts, some dipping into the negatives. So Thursday will be an important date. Hopefully we see the projection for GDP come in to be less negative, but it being negative is still a concern. Now, as for Bitcoin, Bitcoin's recovering nicely over the last few days. We got a break of this descending wedge. I was expecting the possibility of getting rejected, pulling back, but no, we broke out and we actually held this sideways, trying to reclaim the 50 MA along the way. Once we finally broke this sideways pattern, you see that break out. We did see a beautiful reaction. Got hung up for part of a day at the 200 MA, but we just broke out of it. And if we can maintain this, as I said in the last video, next comes our golden cross. It will take some time, however, and we'll need to remain above the 50 and the 200 MA. So far, so good. This bullish divergence may have in fact marked the bottom. This death cross may have in fact marked the bottom. Who's to say in the end? But that's what it's looking like so far. This death cross marking the bottom, we have seen this every time this cycle, and I've told you guys this. Death cross, that marked the bottom. Death cross, marked the bottom. Here we go. But what do you guys think? Do you think this death cross, this will be the third death cross this cycle, and will it mark the bottom? Or do we start heading lower? I think the world is seeing Bitcoin as a better alternative than the dollar, as another good choice alongside gold that has been doing fantastic. Gold and Bitcoin are both stores of value during uncertainty, during distrust in government, during massive government money printing. These hard assets will continue to benefit from our governments always printing us to death. And that's simply the way it is and the way it always will be. But thanks as always for watching, guys. How are you feeling about Bitcoin? What do you think about its decoupling from the stock market lately? There have been some days here and there where we get a pretty blood red market. However, Bitcoin is shining. Keep an eye out for the Atlanta Fed's GDP on Thursday. and watch out for PCE at the end of this month. These are going to be market moving catalysts. Thanks as always for watching, guys. It's good to be back, and I'll see you on the next one.